Swivl Sessions, interviews with field service entrepreneurs. Get insights and strategies from those who took the leap and risked it all to start their own home service companies. I don't think we've had a more honest or hardworking owner on the podcast in the 26 or 7 that we've done than we had with today with Aaron Cleveland from Aces Plumbing. Jeremy, what do you got?
Aaron Cleveland, he's a plumber. He's a veteran. He's a dog lover. He embodies these core values: discipline, honesty, and integrity. And he even said it best when he said, do everything the right way. Otherwise, you're going to do it for free the right way. You can trust this guy. And I think it shows in how successful he's been.
He said the Army taught him that if you're not the smartest, you better be the hardest working. He is just not going to give up the relationship with the customer to try to sell a customer something they don't need. And I love the integrity that he showed. And he said, if you're going to do it, but don't be afraid to work hard for it. And he's one of the hardest workers we've seen. So Aaron Cleveland, Aces Plumbing, enjoy the show.
Welcome to Swivl Sessions, where we dive into the world of field service entrepreneurship. Now, before we get into today's interview, let's introduce the host you'll be hearing from. First, we have Edgar, our resident sales guru who swears by working from home, which seems to have involved more couch time than call time. If only his pajamas could close deals, we'd never see him again. Edgar.
Thanks. That was really kind of you, Rob. Aaron, I'd like you to meet Tyson. He's our customer service expert, but his real skill is surviving the chaos coming through the office walls. His unknown neighbors talk like they're mic'd up for a stadium. Monday through Friday, Tyson sits there, jaw clenched, slowly driven to the brink. Meet Tyson.
And you know what? They can smell fear over there. They know that I'm afraid of them.
It's so
okay,
loud.
Last but not least, I have the distinct pleasure, Aaron, to introduce you to Rob, our fearless leader. Speaking of distinct pleasures, earlier today, I had the pleasure of getting to watch him put together an uplift desk. Parts and pieces and confusion scattered everywhere on the ground. He was sitting Indian style. As far as comic relief goes, Aaron, it was delicious. Meet Rob.
All right. Once upon a time, I put together a Barbie dream house. No shit. It took me from 10 p.m. when the kids went to bed until...
Bottle of whiskey.
It was at least a half bottle of bourbon, and that thing was falling to pieces the next day. Anyway, all right, enough about us. So today, we're excited to introduce Aaron Cleveland, owner of Aces Plumbing, a veteran-owned and operated plumbing company based in Hilton Head, South Carolina. So, Aaron, first of all, thank you for your service, and second of all, welcome to Swivl Sessions. It's great to have you here. How are things in Hilton Head or Beaufort in Jasper County? Is it Beaufort or Beaufort?
Beaufort.
Yeah. Thanks. Happy to be here.
I'm from the north.
But it's starting to warm up. Tourists are starting to come. We always go through kind of a slow period through, March, and then all of a sudden it's back to, kind of guns blazing. And so that's kind of what we're seeing right now, starting to pick up. And yeah, it's starting to heat up, and just getting ready for a long, hot summer in the attics.
It's a different heat there too. That's
Yeah.
good old southern heat.
It's humid. Those
It's
attics.
very humid.
Yeah, I mean those freaking attics, man. They hot. You got to be careful.
Wait a minute. Well, if you're in plumbing, why are you in attics?
Well, believe it or not, here in this area, more often than not, water heaters are in the attic. Which
Why? That just seems like a terrible idea.
well, in this area, 9 out of 10 people are not from this area. Probably more like 10 out of 10 people. But I always thought it was normal until people, obviously started moving down here years ago, and are like, no, this is only here.
It's like putting
Gotta be-
pools on roofs. It's like,
It'd be
water
tough
goes
getting it up there.
one way, that's down.
Yeah, and I've asked architects, I've asked engineers. If you ask 10 different engineers and architects, you'll get 10 different answers as to why they put them there. But my consensus is it's the easiest place to put it. So
I have an idea. Maybe it's because it's so stinking hot up there that the water heater really doesn't need to do much of the heating.
Grasping.
me, I don't know.
That's a great observation there, Rob.
Hey, thanks,
Yeah,
Edgar.
it is.
All right. Well, hey, let's jump into it then. Aaron, background. You have some military in your background and your plumbing. How did it all come together for you to start Aces Plumbing?
Yeah, obviously growing up, I was growing up, I'm not gonna lie to you, I was real lazy, but I was real good at watching. So, my
God
grandfather,
bless you.
my grandfather, for example, he was always a fix it yourself kind of guy, and I'd always be watching him, and I just kind of, liked learning how things got put together. My uncle, he was in HVAC, and I'd obviously talk with him and whatnot. And then after I graduated high school, literally 2 weeks later, shipped out to Fort Sill, Oklahoma. And I was in the military for well, not for exactly 4 years and 8 months, where I just kept hurting my knee. So they finally said, yeah, we're going to medically discharge you. And then whenever I got out of the army, whenever you get out of the army, they just kind of, throw you out there. There's no real, and it's also, we're all adults. We should all kind of prepare ourselves. It's not a pity party, but guys like me, fresh out of high school, I still didn't know how to be an adult. So being in the army, you really still don't know how to be an adult because you get told exactly what to do, where to be, what to wear. It's pretty similar. It's just like your mom's just a lot meaner, right? But
Hey,
yeah.
I'm a dad and grandfather Army brat. I know it well.
Yeah. So getting out, I had multiple jobs for about 9 months. When I say multiple, I mean multiple. I wasn't happy anywhere I was. I was a food runner. I tried out being an electrician. I tried out cutting grass. Everything I did, I was always a hard worker. That is, one of the good things the Army taught me was, if you're not the smartest guy in the room, be the hardest worker, right? So that's kind of always what, that's kind of how I conducted my business. But I still wasn't happy, and I was still hanging out with friends doing the wrong things, until I met my now wife, mother of my two children, who at the time she was a nurse in Atlanta, and I actually told this story at our wedding, but she actually about 3 months or so after talking to her, she jokingly said, "Well, you should move to Atlanta." And well, I took it literally, and I moved to Atlanta. I showed up at her door.
Hey, I'm here.
I literally still had I sold all my furniture. By all my furniture, I mean my bed and my desk. And it was me and my dog Ace. That's where Ace's Plumbing came from.
All
And
right, all right. Scratch that
we moved
question off
in.
the list.
Yeah, and I didn't do anything for about 2 weeks when I was there, and because she was a nurse, she was making good money, and I still had a little bit of money saved up. But when money started to run dry, and I was like, "Holy crap! I need to get a job." I started calling everywhere. I knew I didn't have any degrees, I didn't have anything, so I started calling all the trades. When I tell you, I probably did 20 interviews over the span of uh, 3 or 4 days. I mean, I really did. And on the last day, and everybody told me no on the spot except for one. But on the last day, I got a call from Superior Plumbing out of Kennesaw, Georgia, who said, "Hey, would you like to come do a ride along?" I said, "Absolutely, yeah. When do you want me there?" And well, they wanted me there the following day, and I was there the following day, and I did the ride along. And Monty Campbell, he was my master plumber. I still talk to him to this day. He's a real fundamentally based plumber. Do everything the right way. Otherwise, you're going to do it for free the right way. And they hired me as an apprentice, and that's kind of how I got into plumbing.
So we love to ask people that decision to work for yourself. It's a huge decision, and it's the one that keeps people kind of standing on the ledge of the cliff for a long time before they jump. I'd love to know, was there an aha moment or just something where the planets lined up that helped you make that next step to start working for yourself?
Well, as once I moved on for being an apprentice plumber and became a service plumber, I found that I was really good at, and rightfully so. If any of my customers are listening, you should trust me. But I was really good at
Attaboy.
I was really good at earning people's trust. And even if it was a $100 job or a $10,000 job, the customers, a lot of them just trusted me to do the right thing. Well, as a service plumber, I was always the top earning technician, and I got a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Well, I was working out of Savannah, Georgia, and we were in an on call rotation, and I was fine with it. I was making really good money but I was working like 80 hours a week minimum. I mean, that was the most hours I ever put to a job was working there, because even if you had a 2 a.m. emergency call, you still needed to be at your 8 a.m. call the next day. It was pretty brutal. But I liked it. but my wife didn't like it. So I reached out to a couple places, got a call from a company in Bluffton, who actually surprisingly offered me the plumbing manager position. And whenever I, went on board there, it was a $24 million a year HVAC company, super, super successful HVAC company, but they couldn't figure plumbing out. They were on their second year and were still in the red. Well, within 6 months, we were in the green across the board.
Nice.
But the problem I was having there was I didn't have the authority that I felt that I needed to truly, grow the division. The owner trusted me, but there were, at a $24 million a year company, there's a lot of managers and a lot of people that, didn't like that I was coming and changing things, which I get it. I wouldn't necessarily be on board 100% with that at first, especially only knowing me for 6 months. But, talking to my wife one day and I said, I can turn this company. Obviously, there's a lot of financial backing there. I said, I can turn this company, and it's in our service area still. I said, I can turn this division into a monster, or I can
I
go
like that
out.
attitude.
Yeah, you got $24 million to revenue to, back you. It would be easy to do all the right things, get all the right financial backing, and really turn that thing into a monster. But my thought was, okay, if I do that, it may make my life easier if I go out on my own. What led me to go out on my own.
So you said it would make your life harder if you went on your own, and that's what you did?
No, it would make my life, because I knew that, one day I wanted to start my own business. If I would have taken that division and turned it into a 20, 30 technician plumbing division, it'd be kind of
That
hard to
wouldn't.
start a fresh business in this area because that business would
Yeah.
probably
Right.
become somewhat of a monopoly. So I
Agreed.
chose to go out on my own during that time.
Good timing.
All right. So Aaron, like I love kind of the different perspectives of people that go into business for themselves. They always think they've got some certain expectations. Sometimes it's like they think that they're not going to work as much as they were. Sometimes they think they're going to be bathing in cash. There's lots of expectations. So before you went out to do your own thing, tell me about your expectations that you had and which of those expectations were met and were not met.
Honestly, I knew that if we could get the customers, we could make it work. I was fortunate in that, I didn't have to go to a bank. My wife's family loaned me, and I'm very transparent. I mean, I tell customers this. My wife's family loaned me $50,000, to buy all the equipment, do all the right things. I only spent about 10,000 of that just on sewer equipment and stuff like that. And I decided to just put magnets on my personal truck. But I knew that if I were to be able to get in front of the customers, that we could make it work. So my expectations were to be able to make it work. I had never expected to be hiring plumbers 3 months in, to opening the company. So honestly, it somewhat exceeded my expectations. But the scariest part was wondering, because this isn't something that you get taught as a plumbing manager. The scariest part was, okay, how am I going to make the phone ring? So that was the scary part. But it rang, and then it kept ringing, and then it kept ringing more, and we were okay.
So yeah, so next my follow-up is always about the unforeseen hurdles. That was your unforeseen hurdle that you overcame, but you didn't quite say how you overcame that. So the phone rang because of word of mouth, or were you pumping out advertising, billboards?
No, I was, up at all hours of the night on the internet figuring out, because at the time I didn't want to spend any money to pay for any sort of marketing company or anything like that, which now, obviously I believe wholeheartedly in marketing companies. Um, at the time I was, just looking up on the internet, okay, how do I do SEO? How do I do pay-per-click? How do I do local services? And I actually set all that up myself. My wife was answering the phones and she obviously helped me, but I set it all up myself, and I basically essentially spent money to make the phone ring at first. And then obviously at that time, you start getting word of mouth. But for the most part, I just kind of figured out how to use Google. I still, I mean, if there was a spectrum of 100%, I'm at like 4% of knowing what to do on Google. But that 4% was enough to make the phone ring for one, two, three plumbers.
How long ago was that when you went up on
That
your
was
own?
only in June of 2022.
Wow. So you've only
Yeah.
been in business less than 3
Almost 3 years.
years.
Yeah.
That's good growth, man. Congrats.
Yeah. We're actually up to 8 plumbers now.
So 8 plumbers with their own trucks?
Yeah. They all have their own vehicle.
How long did it take you to get to 8, Rob?
It was a while though. I was a slow starter and a fast finisher. We'll talk about me later on, Aaron. So I also built up a service plumbing business in Atlanta. Yeah, we'll probably keep that off the record because
Yeah.
it's Talon Plumbing, and you may have heard about them, and you may not have a good opinion of them. So we'll talk about that later. So, all right, Edgar, roll.
Yeah, well, I like to ask guys, who is your customer base? Who are you marketing towards? Commercial, what?
To this day, still residential homeowners, people that are in the home that care about their home.
What about rentals? I mean, obviously Hilton Head, there's a lot of that, right?
Yeah, that actually brings up a good point that I completely forgot about in terms of starting the business. A really, really big property, the biggest one in this area reached out to me. They got my number from a friend of a friend, probably about 6 months in. I mean, they have thousands of rentals on Hilton Head Island, and they reached out to me. And I'll give credit where credit's due. We don't work with them anymore, which I would be glad to tell you why. But they definitely helped me get off the ground. We'll definitely get to kind of the next level to an extent. It was a lot of times I consider it busy work because those ones they want the quick fix, cheapest fix, and they want to pay you in 30 days.
Sometimes longer, right?
I was gonna say 30 days isn't too
That's
bad.
not at all.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, now we will work and that same company will still call us if like they've had other plumbers out and it just can't get figured out or it can't get fixed because they know that if they call us, they need to be in contact with the homeowner because that's one thing that we do not do is we don't bill out. We get paid today. And that's why I like residential homeowners.
That's fair, you know?
Yeah. Well, I've told customers before, one bad apple kind of ruins the whole bunch. And whenever you get burned as a small business, it hurts. And it was only my second month in, and I got burned on a $4,000 job, and that hurt. I had 3,000 just in material. Yeah, I know what you're probably thinking, Rob. That's cheap quoting, but I was still a one man show at the time. But
So I wasn't thinking that. I'm definitely biased towards, I guess, but it depends on what stage you're at. But I am biased towards property management and commercial customers just because of a lot of things. But I like the repeat business. I like the one. But as a small business, you're right. I mean, if you only have like one big property management company, then you have all your eggs in this one basket because it's going to take over your life. Where you're going to have a few other residential things, and if that one drops off, that's bad news. So, but where I grew my business was multiple property management companies, and that's what we focused on. Also municipals. We had some residential, we had municipal, we had the property management, a lot of that, and it was hit or miss with them. So 30 days is fantastic. We were getting, I mean, we had a whole army that was collecting and threatening leg breaking and things, but I found it was worth it. Just that repeat business and the lack of needing to um, you know, spend a lot of that money on marketing. Plus, I think we did a really good job of costing our jobs where we knew exactly as it was happening how much it cost, and they gave us a little bit of leeway on top of how, on margin pricing, if you will. But tell me, so Aaron, 3 years in business and 8 trucks. That's awesome. What can I ask you? What your revenue was last year?
we hired the number 7 and number 8 this year, but last year we closed it out at right at 2.8.
Sweet.
Oh, man. Good for you.
So what are you looking at this year then? What's your
This year,
expectations?
there's no reason why we can't add another million to it, and we are on track to do that. Um, as of right now, we're right under a million right now for the years.
Minus the 50 that
Awesome.
you owe your in-laws.
That's gone. That's been done.
That is awesome. That's some quick growth. It took me a while to get to 3, I can tell you that. So hats off to you. Kudos.
Yeah, well, right now we're going to be stagnant for a little while. We're going to clean it up and make sure that margins stay where they need to be. Because I also pay for as of 3 months ago, I paid for a business coach, and
Good
because
for you.
going from 5 plumbers to 8 in my opinion, was a whole nother ball game. I mean, stuff started getting messy,
Yeah.
and it's fairly cleaned up now. But I want to make sure that we still have that strong foundation before we grow any faster.
Well, that's a great lead into Tyson's going to ask you
Well,
about
I actually I have
technology.
I have two questions. I'll get to the technology one, but the business coach that you hired, Aaron, what was one takeaway or one thing that really we're glad that you made that investment to bring him in?
People in the right seats was a big thing that he's kind of really harped on. I've had to make a couple really difficult employee decisions since I kind of brought him on. Decisions that I already knew needed to be made, but he kind of pushed me to that, and he's really harped on that and kind of told me, slow down. You don't have to hire the first person with a heartbeat. Whereas I was always excited, I'd interview somebody for the office manager position or the GM position, and they'd be super nice. We'd hit it off. I'm like, all right, dude, you're hired. I won't even interview anybody else. So that was kind of the young part of me, and I had to make some difficult decisions, but decisions nonetheless that have ultimately helped us exponentially.
We hear that so much with these podcasts, people that they just how difficult it is to find the right hire.
Yeah.
And not only that, but when you have someone that's built up a business and then they don't quite want to let someone else represent them, they're so used to building up their own name. But I had a second question about technology. Obviously, we're a field service centric software, and I was curious as far as Aces Plumbing goes, what kind of tools have you been using or relying on, either CRM or scheduling or invoicing?
We were with House Call Pro for a long time. Well, for about a long time, a few years. But as of beginning of this year, we swapped to Service Titan.
Was
And,
this, did your business coach advise you on doing that?
no, he didn't. Call is tailors to so many kinds of business. I mean, they do anything from roofing to cleaning to electrical to plumbing to and everything in between. The stuff that I wanted it to be able to do, because I'm really big on reporting. I want to know the profit per vehicle, not just the profit as a company. I want to know what the KPIs are, everything. And they
Sounds
didn't have
familiar.
they didn't have that capability to actually really harp in on what I needed it to do. So we swapped to Service Titan, and that's definitely a work in progress. That's a huge learning curve for us. So
So far, you're
So much
happy with
stuff
it?
on there.
it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Are you happy with it, Rob? I think Rob asked that and I kind of drowned him out, but are you happy with it so far?
I think that goes back to kind of putting the right people in the right seats. Now I believe that I have the people to really tackle it and figure out what all can it do. But if somebody were to ask me right now, I need to give an answer right now, no, because I don't know how to use it. It's so complicated.
And you're paying.
A lot of money for it. That's expensive.
So tell me this, what are the goals for Aces Plumbing? What's your, where are you going to be in a year, 5 years, 10 years?
I mean, obviously, I would like to grow it to the point where, honestly, honest to God, I know this sounds like a really generic answer and it might sound like BS, but I want to continue to grow it until it stops being the trusted plumbing solution that it's been or that I want it to be. That's a big reason why I went on my own. Is because I could control, everything that goes on in it and, control the warranties. Like, for example, we give a 2-year parts labor warranty, industry standard for 1 year, right? I mean, I want to have the best guys. And I guess I want to grow to the point in this area where, to the point where we can still continue to be a good plumbing company, not just sending a 6-week-old techs out to every call. I don't ever want to get to that point. Whenever we get to the point where I think, okay, this is the most growth for this area, my goal is to open up a division over in Charleston, South Carolina, because that's a huge, huge market for plumbing. Yeah.
So I've always found, if you're building your business, your reputation on trust, and that's how you found your initial success at Superior, and that's great. But I was always kind of taken aback by plumbing when it's a sales function, right? Someone went to go work for Superior and they sat through this class and they walked away and they said, well, I thought they were going to teach us how to be plumbers and not salesmen. So it seems like a lot of service plumbing is sales driven, and I get it. I mean, that's how you make money, but that also in my mind seems to be how you detract from the trust, right? You go
Yeah.
there selling something, you're upselling something, and people are always surprised when I tell them that most of the time the first person that you see from a plumbing company is going to be a salesman. How do you reconcile that kind of conflict?
I think it's pretty easy. Don't ever convince or sell something that isn't necessary or beneficial. I consider a good sale, and at the end of the day, plumbing is selling. No matter what, some people say, well, it's pretty easy to sell a clogged toilet. Well, not really. I mean, they could call 10 other plumbers in the area, but they called you. I guess it just boils down to never getting a reputation of being a company that installs or convinces people to put in things that aren't necessary or beneficial. But I consider a good sale as not just selling something, but retaining that customer lifelong, because in my opinion, there absolutely are scenarios where this customer who's going to, live in this home for another 30 years could benefit from that 20-year warranty water heater, right? Or maybe this customer who's super concerned with the water heater being in the attic. Well, how about this water heater with built-in leak detection instead of spending even more money relocating it to your garage? Or if you're working on a sink, and I tell the guys all the time, hey, if you see something, say something, because I have absolutely been in a situation where I worked on this dude's kitchen sink. Everything went well, and it was good for 2 or 3 months. I don't remember how long it was good for. Well, then his angle stop started leaking. He calls up and he says, well, hey, my angle stop's leaking. And, me being a new business owner, which I would still do it to this day, I would say, but, to this day, I would have, well, I provided you an option for that. But at the time I said, yeah, I noticed that, they were pretty corroded while I was there. And he said, well, why didn't you say something? And, at that point I said, you're right. Why didn't I say something? So
The relationship is the equity. The relationship is the
exactly.
takeaway from the sale.
I think you hit it on the head when, if you're focused on, in business, they a term for kind of the valuation of things, but for customers, customer lifetime value. And if you're looking at every customer and saying that whatever you just said, you said that you want to give solutions that will serve them for their lifetime. That means you want to retain that customer for the lifetime, and that any vendor that I want to use, I hope I'll go back to them if I sense that they're looking at me like that too, right? Like they want me to come back the next time and the next time. And that's why I tend to, in the old days, at least when with my company, I focused on that commercial stuff because it was easier for me, in the central office to try to command that relationship and let them know that that's kind of how I viewed that relationship. So lifetime value is huge. And if you can build your business on that, which it sounds like you are, you're going to continue to do well. And as much as you've been doing already and then some. So hats
Yeah,
off to you.
and like yesterday, for example, because I had to let go of the guy who was doing all of our estimates. That's one of the right people, right seat situation. I went to a job where the guy was fully convinced he had to replace all. He has 2 huge houses side by side on Hilton Head. He has to replace 4 Rinnai tankless units. That's a 10, 15, $20,000 job, and I told him, no, you don't have to replace them. They just need to be serviced annually. These units are completely fine. That's a lifelong customer. That customer
Yeah.
has 4 tankless units,
Right.
So
That guy
whenever,
probably would have stroked a check.
yeah, exactly. And whenever it's time to change those, guess who's going to get the job? It's going to be Aces Plumbing.
Get a nice
That's
price.
right.
That's great. But all right. So then how do you take that service tech who's out there trying to make money? Because the owner can come in behind him and say, that's not what you're doing. We don't need to sell those 4 things, but he wants the commission and, he wants his sales rating to go higher. How do you train that into someone, which is really probably the barrier to your growth, I would think, right? Being able to kind of balance that.
Well, like that situation, for example, that was another company that had told that customer that. But
Okay. All right.
yeah, no, it wasn't us. Yeah, I've been fortunate so far to this day, and we do these things. It's called happy calls, where our office manager calls and says, "Hey, are you happy with the service, whatnot?" And very very often, at least 2 or 3 times a month, I'll go out to bigger jobs that were sold and just call them and say, "Hey, you mind if I come by and just check the work out?" But so far to this day, I've only hired one guy that I felt may have had a little bit of dishonesty in his system, and you gotta cut it fast. And I cut it fast. So
Add good judgment to it, and that solves it.
yeah, I mean, and I may have been dead wrong, but it's not worth it. He can go be a plumber somewhere else easily. So
Where there's smoke, there's fire. So
yeah, exactly.
Aaron, my last question is, do you have an exit strategy? But it sounds like it might be triggered when it stops, being able to have that reputation that you have. But what happens when you get to that point? You sell?
My perfect world, and perfect world doesn't really exist from what I'm starting to gather as I grow older, but
wasn't it?
my perfect world is to develop a good enough team where I don't feel the need to sell it, but I can sit at the house and still get paid. Now, if somebody were to come in and I don't know, but because it hasn't happened yet. But I don't know. I don't know if as of right now, if you were to ask me, do I plan on selling it? My answer would be no, because I'd want to, create a good enough system where I could pass it down to my kids. But
And yeah, in 3 years, it's tough to know that. I mean, it's you
yeah,
haven't really lived that much.
yeah. I mean,
Question I have to
I'm,
ask.
yeah, and I'm still kind of just getting my feet wet. In my opinion, I'm still learning every day.
Do you guys
So
have kids?
yeah, well, I have 2 daughters. I doubt that they'd want to take it over, but
You never know. There's a plumbing company in Atlanta. It's not to
Talked to a
plug them,
few
but
female
McCrary
owners,
Talk to
and
many
daughters.
female-owned
and they
plumbing
are
companies.
and they are proud of the fact that they got things started and did it themselves.
Yeah, so you
They're
never
good
know,
people.
Aaron.
we actually have the only female plumber in this area, and she's my most detailed, most customer-oriented service technician that I have. She's great.
It's awesome.
But my daughters, I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it sounds like you married a good wife, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's great.
And she still is answering the phones for you?
No, because my oldest daughter just turned 2, and my youngest daughter is 10 months
it's
old, so
tough.
she's at the house with
That's
them.
good. Sometimes that
Yes.
makes for a better
Got her hands
marriage.
full.
Yeah, her days are harder than mine for sure.
2 full-time jobs.
We'll leave that in the podcast to make sure she sees it.
All right, so pushing on time, but we covered some ground. It's pretty cool listening to you talk about building your company, and I like the way you're doing it. And your story beats the hell out of mine, and it's inspiring. So I love the insights that you've shared so far, and about you navigating the challenges of your business, and that's valuable. So before we wrap things up, is there anything else that you would like to share with our listeners or viewers? Particularly for those who are looking to jump off and start their own plumbing company or other field service company. What kind of advice would you give someone in your shoes 4 years ago?
I guess I would say, if you're going to do it, do it. Don't think about it, just do it. But, be willing to work a lot of hours. I definitely worked more than 8. I know I talked about that 80-hour weeks. I definitely worked more than 80 hours when I first opened for at least the first year. Even when I was hiring people, I was still the one that would go out at night. But I did it whenever I didn't have kids. So I don't know if I would. I guess if you're gonna do it, do it. What's the worst that can happen? Obviously don't go out and pull out a bunch of debt. But if you're gonna do it, do it. Worst case scenario, you go back to a job.
And you know what? You never know. If you don't, you're always going to wonder. So.
Yeah.
Love it. All right. Well, thanks for sharing your journey and insights. We appreciate the time that you spoke with us today. And you have a great story. And I think those kids who are thinking about starting out, it might inspire them to take their own path, similar to yours. I doubt they'll be able to do as well as you, but they still inspire them, right?
Sure they could.
All right, so that was incredibly enlightening conversation. A huge thank you to Aaron Cleveland for sharing those valuable insights and stories. It's great to see how much hard work and passion and dedication that you put into building Aces Plumbing, and you definitely have a true entrepreneurial spirit. So for all of you watching or listening, if you're in the greater Hilton Head, Beaufort, or
There you go.
Jasper counties, South Carolina area, and are in need of some plumbing services, make sure to reach out to Aaron at Aces Plumbing. You can find their contact information right here on the screen.
Put your finger up, Aaron.
And
A little bit higher.
me,
There you go.
believe me, you can trust that you're working with a true, reliable expert in the field. Once again, thank you, Aaron, for being with us here on Swivl Sessions.
Thanks,
Thank
Aaron.
you.
Thanks, Aaron.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for listening or watching. Swivl's field service software is everything you need to run your field service business for free. Till next time, check us out at swivl.tech. That's SWIVL.tech.